As the epitome of British folklore, King Arthur stands as a timeless superstar. This legendary figure, with his magic sword Excalibur and the Knights of the Round Table, is an emblem of British culture and mythology. From tales of chivalry to quests for the Holy Grail, Arthur's stories have captivated audiences for centuries. Yet there is a theory that might turn our understanding of this British icon on its head. In the world of historical research, a controversial proposition has emerged, suggesting that King Arthur and his knights might not be as British as we've always believed. Some scholars suggest that Arthur's roots could trace back to the Black Sea steppes of Russia. Yes, you heard it right, Russia. This theory posits that the origins of these quintessentially British legends might be found thousands of miles away from the rolling hills of England. But what if this British icon was not so British after all? Our journey begins in the windswept steppes of the Altai region. Here, we find ourselves amidst ancient cultures and intriguing parallels. Fascinatingly, the headgear of the Dark Ages witches bears a striking resemblance to the hats worn by Scythian ladies from the Altai. This connection, while interesting, is only the tip of the iceberg. Let's turn our attention to a common name that echoed across Europe during the Dark Ages: Alan. Now you may be wondering, what's so special about the name Alan? Well, it's the prevalence of this name that sparks interest. Alan was not only a popular name in medieval Europe but also has its roots in the Scythian language, tracing back to Central Russia. So we have the hats of the witches, the Scythian ladies, and the name Alan connecting Europe and Central Russia. Could this be a mere coincidence, or is it a piece of a larger puzzle? The quest for answers continues. To unravel this mystery, we delve into the annals of history. Our first reference of Arthur comes not from a royal court, but from the humble cell of a Welsh monk named Nennius. In the early 9th century, Nennius wrote of Arthur not as a king, but as a warrior, a formidable fighter who led the Britons against the Saxon invaders. Bishop Geoffrey of Monmouth, a 12th century cleric with a flair for storytelling, expanded on Nennius's brief account. He transformed Arthur from a mere commander into a king, a monarch with a magic sword and a round table of noble knights. Monmouth's Arthur was a superhero of his time, a figure larger than life, whose exploits were the stuff of legends. Yet the metamorphosis of Arthur's narrative from a warrior to a king raises intriguing questions. If elements of his story were embellished or even fabricated, what does this say about his true origins? The transformation of Arthur's narrative raises questions about his true origins. Enter Howard Reed, with a hypothesis that challenges traditional narratives. Reed, a renowned historian, presented a theory in his best-selling book, King Arthur, the Dragon King, that paints a radically different picture of the legendary king. Instead of the quintessential British hero, Reed portrays Arthur as a nomad barbarian hailing from the steppes of modern Russia. Intriguingly, Reed's research has revealed striking overlaps between the cultures of these steppe nomads, specifically the Scythians, Sacs and Sarmatians, and the Arthurian legends. From the reverence for powerful swords to elaborate warrior codes, the parallels are hard to ignore. Reed's theory suggests that these nomadic cultures could have influenced the tales that eventually morphed into the King Arthur we know today. This hypothesis, while controversial, adds a fascinating layer of complexity to the tapestry of Arthurian lore. Reed's hypothesis offers an intriguing perspective, but is there more to this story? Peeling back the layers, we find striking similarities between the Sarmatian and Arthurian practices. Both cultures held a profound reverence for swords. In Arthur's court, the legendary Excalibur was more than a weapon. It was a symbol of power and authority. This mirrors the Sarmatian belief where swords were seen as sacred objects, often buried with their owners as tokens of honor. The concept of armored knights, a cornerstone of Arthurian lore, echoes the Sarmatian military tradition of heavily armored cavalry. Even the enigmatic Grail, a central element of Arthurian legend, finds a parallel in the Sarmatian ritual objects associated with feasting and ceremonies. Additionally, water bodies held great significance in both cultures, often seen as gateways to other realms or abodes of divine entities. And let's not forget the empowered women, both as warriors and priestesses, a common thread linking these two fascinating cultures. These parallels suggest a deeper connection than we might initially realize. The Sarmatians' arrival in Britain around 170 AD provides another piece of our puzzle. These hardy warriors traveled vast distances from their homelands, crossing continents to serve as auxiliary cavalry in the Roman army. Leading them was a commander named Artorius, a name that resonates with echoes of the legendary Arthur. The Sarmatians were renowned for their military prowess, but they also brought with them rich cultural traditions. One striking symbol they introduced was the dragon standard. This fearsome emblem was adopted by the Romans and later preserved in the British Army, where it evolved into the familiar dragoon. So here we have a group of warriors from the steppes of Russia, led by a commander whose name bears a striking resemblance to Arthur, introducing a dragon emblem that finds its way into British military tradition. Could the Sarmatians have brought more than just their military prowess to Britain? The evidence suggesting a Russian origin of King Arthur's legend is compelling. We've journeyed through the ages and across continents, unearthing connections between the quintessential British king and the ancient cultures of the Scythians, Sacs, and Sarmatians from the territory of modern Russia. From the similarities in military and cultural practices, the reverence for swords, armored knights, and the concept of the Grail, to the significant role of water bodies and women as warriors and priestesses in both cultures. We've also considered the migration of the Sarmatians to Britain around 170 AD as auxiliary cavalry in the Roman army, led by a commander named Artorius. As we ponder these revelations, we invite you to explore this topic further and share your thoughts. The legend of King Arthur continues to intrigue and inspire, and perhaps its origins are even more fascinating than the tales themselves. Thank you for joining us on this historical journey. Until next time, let curiosity lead the way.